Hey guys, how are you? I'm Bruna. It is your channel summary of Turkish series, and if you like this type of content, do not forget to leave your like and subscribe to our channel if you have not already subscribed. Done this for pro video. Roma is in her car and gets a call. Rome then receives the news that the fire has been brought under control. Rome then asks if the workers have been sent home. The officer said yes because they were pretty scared. But tell Orhan everyone's okay. Yeah, the explosion was in the warehouse, far from the production area. And he tells Orhan that he could not understand the reason for the explosion. Then you realize that the explosion was caused by Taskin, the bad guy Ekta stole. Oh. Ron then hangs up the phone and immediately calls Erkan, his investigator, and tells him that the factory explosion was just a distraction. Oh! Ron then asks Erkan to keep an eye on the mansion, for he is on his way. Oh! Ron was about to hang up the phone, but Erkan tells Orhan that he was just about to call him when he called and tells Orhan that something happened. He then tells Orhan that Sarah and Ira have been kidnapped. Oh, Ron kind of freezes at this information. Meanwhile, Ira and Sarah arrive in Captivity, accompanied by several bandits. Taskin looks at the anger and says, I was very much looking forward to your arrival. Ira tells Taskin that if anything happens to her daughter, she will kill him. Ira then begins to be taken to the shed. Sarah remains unconscious due to the sedative FIFA gave her. Ira then starts begging Taskin to take Sarah to the hospital as she is very sick. But no one listens to Ira and takes her and Sarah straight to the shed. Ira puts Sarah on the ground and goes knocking on the door, saying that they have no heart, and tells them Sarah badly needs a doctor and begs for them to help. Bring a doctor to see the girl, but they don't care about Ira's words. Taskin's brother comes to tell him that one of Ekta's lawyers gave him some important information and tells Taskin that Ekta has a lot of video and document material to expose their dirty business. Task. So he says to himself, look our friend I see, do you think he's smart? His brother then says, what are we going to do now? Tasky then looks at him and replies, let's not do anything. Let's continue with our plan. First, Ekta will kneel before me and beg my forgiveness. Then you will return all the money you stole from me. And then we will ruin your image before the whole world. He's gonna pay for what he did to me. Meanwhile, Ira is desperate, trying to wake Sarah, who remains unconscious. In fact, she's sound asleep, but Ira doesn't know it. FIFA and Sultan begin to listen to the Orhan conversation with Erkan. Oro is telling Erkan that it's for him to find out how Sarah got sick and why the car broke down, and for this reason, Ira and Sarah never made it to the hospital. Oro then tells Erkan that someone on the inside helped the kidnappers kidnap. Go there, go there. Sarah Oro then send Erkan to investigate everyone. He falls, then says everyone, oh, then shouts at him and says, yes, everyone in the mansion. The FIF is very nervous about this, as it knows it is included within this investigation. Oh! Raul then ends up meeting with FIF. Fif looks at Ora and says he needs to stay calm and tells him to let Ira's husband take care of this situation and tells Ora that he has nothing to do with it. Oh! Raul then shoots the Fiv that Ira and Sarah were over his protection. And that if anything happens to Ira or Sarah, the person who helped the kidnappers get Ira and Sarah will pay the price for it. The street then goes to her office, and Fif says to herself in thought that if she will harm her family again, she will pay the price with her own body. Meanwhile, Ira cries over Sarah and asks the ward to protect and asks for the girl to be well. Sarah then wakes up. Ira then thanks Ayla. Because your daughter's okay. Sarah then asks Ira, where are they? Ira tells Menina that they will have to stay there for a while, but assures Menina that everything is fine, as her father will come to fetch them. Meanwhile, the bad guy gets a call from Ekta, and Ekta asks Taskin what he wants to deliver Ira and Sarah. The bandit then says, first I want you back, and second, I want you to pay me double the money you stole. And finally, I want you to hand me your power ring. I want you to tell me everything you know. And Ekta then says, what are you talking about, Tas? Who then answers, you know very well what I'm talking about. If I want to see your wife and daughter alive again, give me what you know. Meanwhile, the bandit puts Alifa in a captivity and tells the girl that she will stay there. Even she was told where the money is for her father to pay the debt. Hormone is in his office and has his employee inform the police about what's going on. Hormone follows the call, Yerkuf, to tell Orhan that the search teams are already organized for the rescue, and even then calls Orhan at that time. Orhan answers the phone, and there he is, he shoots. Pray that he has a deadline until tomorrow to deliver the tavern what he wants, or else he will kill Ira and Sarah, and that's what he has then. Shoots Orhan, who doesn't know what he's going to do. Orhan then tells Yekta to think straight, as they have no time to waste. Orhan asks Paryekta if he knows of any place in particular that Taskin might be using to keep Ira and Sarah captive, and Yekta replies that he doesn't. Orhan asks Yekta what Taskin wants from him, and Yekta replies that he wants double the money he took and some secret information he has about the dirty business world. Orhan then tells Paryekta that money is no problem and tells Paryekta that he will take care of it. Orhan then says he will get the money Taskin wants and tells ECTA to hand over the secret information he has to Task, and tells Paryekta that he will send a team to pick him up overseas so they can go rescue the girls. But Hector makes a face like, I don't want to go, no. He then tells Orhan that Ira and Sarah are the guarantee. He has not to give this secret information that is very important. Orhan then says what is more important than his wife and daughter, and Hector then falls silent and makes that I don't want no face again. He then asks for time to think and tells Orhan that tomorrow morning she will contact him. And it does. So he hangs up the phone, and the agency gets pissed off because he knows what's going on and will still think about whether to give the information to the task or not. That is, he will think about whether he wants to save Ira and Sarah's lives. Unbelievable, huh? They're really for yourself and thought, what else do you want to think about? He took them. He has them in his hands. Ron then slaps this asshole Ayekta Sultan's hate table and goes to talk to FIFA and tells her that Ron is recruiting men to go rescue Hiraichara. The question to Santana if they can be discovered Sultana then begins to remember when he made a deal with Tasquim to deliver Iraisara to them. Single. So I will take care of your thoughts and ask Fifi to stay calm because no one will find out the agreement they made with Tasquim. Fifi then tells the bachelorette to keep an eye on every organ step. Meanwhile, Ira tries to find a way out of captivity. Sarah picks up a stick from the floor and hands it to Ira and tells Ira that it can help her open the door. Ira then bends down and asks girl if she knows what that is. Ira then says that it is a magic wand. What will save you two? He then takes the wand and shakes it saying, gate open. She then hands the wand to Sarah and tells Sarah that she must move the stick as if it were a wand. I will go then, shoots Sarah, that maybe the wand won't open the gate, but maybe it will help them in some other way. Aces goes to talk to the bald bandit. The bald bandit asks Aces if the girl opened her mouth and told where the money is. Aces tells the bald man no, that the girl is saying she doesn't know where the money is. The bald man then says, poor girl, she seems to be innocent. Aces then tells the bald man that, in his opinion, there is no trust between people at that moment. A woman with 16 horrible yellow pants and a white shoe enters the place and goes towards the bald man. She says, hello brother, how are you? She kisses the boy's cheek and greets the Aces. Aces then tells Bald Man that he needs to leave, and he then leaves the two alone in Bald Man's office. As soon as Azik leaves the venue, the Bald Man tells his sister that she knows full well that he doesn't like the way she dresses. She then asks the boy for money so that she can dress better. He then says, wow, you planned everything, didn't you? Your fox? She then says, yes, give me money. Then give money to your little fox. He then gives money to the girl and asks her to buy something decent. She then leaves her brother's office. Meanwhile, Orhan is in his office, and Erkan gets off a call and tells him that Taskin's men are already preparing for an attack. Orhan then tells Erkan that Taskin is a thug who has been masquerading as a businessman for years, and that the power ring he wants Ektalidi is a list of the country's great crime bosses. Herku tells Organ that the car he was taking to Itara to the doctor broke down, as the engine oil was mixed with sugar, and that this caused the car to break down. Orhan then tells Herku that this only proves that everything was nothing more than a trap for Tasquim to kidnap Ira and Sarah. Orhan tells Herku to leave the jet and the money prepared so that Hector can decide to return to the country. To save Ira and Sarah, they can act quickly. Orhan also sends her to know. Don't change anyone from security yet, because he wants them to watch his steps so that later he can identify who the traitor is. Erku will take Organ's orders. Organ then stands alone and begins to remember Ekta's words about thinking about whether he will want to give the power ring to Taskin or not. Organ then gets very angry and throws some documents that were under his desk on the floor. Meanwhile, Elif cries in captivity and begins to wonder why her father did this to her. At that moment, the bandit enters the place and hands him the food and juice. He then takes a chair and sits in front of the girl, and soon after, he eats a piece of bread and drinks some of the juice to show her that the food is safe. He then looks at her and says, "You swear the money wasn't yours, right?" She then says, "Yes, it wasn't mine." He then says, "The police station is full of liars like you." He then approaches the girl and says, "I saw her heart when I was looking into her eyes. Maybe your stomach makes your brain think." He says this by kneeling the girl in front of the food. Before leaving the warehouse, he looks at the girl and says, "Only the blood of liars like you satisfies me." At that moment, it is possible to see that someone is watching them through the door. After a while, Aces leaves the place, and the man who was spying enters the place and asks the girl not to worry because he came to help her. He then sees the bitten bread and tells the girl that he will bring her another snack. The girl then asks the boy for water, as she would like to say a prayer. Meanwhile, Ira tells Sarah a story of a family that was rescued by her father. Sarah then asks Ira if her father will save her. Laira agrees and says yes, that her father will come to fetch Lasira, then hugs the girl and says to herself very quietly, "Your father will save us." Ira's subconscious is obviously thinking of Organ. Meanwhile, Sarah's father is really not sparing efforts to save the lives of the two. Room then ends up seeing the dark cabin and goes there and starts seeing Ira and Sarah's things. He sees Bridges in the chair and soon after sees Ira's handkerchief on the couch. Room picks up the handkerchief and begins to remember a few moments he has spent with Ira since they reunited after he got out of prison. So he tells himself and thought that no matter how much he gets angry, tell him that he doesn't have to protect her, he will protect her, and he won't let her down. Meanwhile, the boy comes back with the water and a cardboard box for the girl. Asix eventually sees the boy escape from Elif's captivity. He then tells the boy to go back to being opposite and not leave there anymore. Asix's mother calls him and asks if he will sleep at home. He replies no. They then hang up the phone and she starts giving food to Mr. Arif, who does everything he can not to eat. I thought that scene was pretty weird, but that's okay. Meanwhile, Elif says her prayers to Asix, then goes to her captivity and takes a chair and begins to observe her. He then says, "You are praying for Allah to forgive your sins." Elif then says, "I am praying because God has commanded us so." Asix then begins to approach Elif and she asks him not to get too close to her. Asix then tells her to tell you where the money is. Elif tells him he doesn't know what he's talking about. Asix then tells Elif that the way she is lying, she will only get to hell. Meanwhile, Ano is alone in the garden and begins to remember some moments she spent with him last year. Ano then begins to remember a moment when Ira told him that he trusts him a lot and that he knows he will always be there to protect her. And on that occasion, he will ask that Organ never leave Organ. Then he comes back from his thoughts and answers a call, and Ekta calls the bad guy and says he accepts his offer. The crook then disparate that if he involves the police or if he discovers that it is a trap, the girl and the woman will die. A bandit then takes Ira and Sarah out of captivity, goes to kiss Sarah and tells the girl that their father has come to fetch them. Meanwhile, the bald bandit talks to Elif and says, "Don't worry, I'm just the businessman. I don't like to hurt people." He then approaches Elif and says, "Don't do anything. Don't act behind my back, or else you will realize that I'm not joking." Elif tells the bald man that she's not hiding anything from anyone and doesn't know exactly what's going on. The bald man then tells Elif to think carefully about what she is going to tell him. for he does not want to trap her all her life in that place as if she were a little bird, and tells the girl not to make fools of them. The bald man then tells the other bandit in front of Elif that the psycho can taste the girl at night. People without comments for this sentence, I thought this was absurd. And detail, the rating of this soap opera is for more than 7 years. That is, people over 7 years old can watch this horror show without comments. Meanwhile, the bandit is with Ira and Sarah on a deserted street. Ira puts Sarah down and tells Sarah that she shouldn't worry because her father has come to save her. At that moment, you will see a car approaching and be happy. And tell Sarah, look, Sarah, Daddy's coming. A man, then posing as Ekta, begins to say loudly from inside the car that he is to go. Then Sarah approached the car. First Task then tells the man, thinking it is Ekta, that he is not in a position to give orders. The man then posing as Ekta says that he came alone and that he doesn't intend to run away. The Task then ends up letting go. Then Sarah approaches the car, but halfway he tells them to stop. Sarah then runs to see her father, for she misses him so much. But when she opens the car door, she sees Orhan and says, Mommy, Daddy's not here. At this point, Taskin realizes he has been tricked and a shootout begins. Ron then grabs Sata and puts her behind the car to protect Taskin, then takes Ira hostage. Ron tells the bad guy to unleash his anger. Taskin then fires Orhan that if he moves, Ira dies. Ron then keeps pointing his gun at Taskin while Sarah stands with her ears covered behind Orhan's car. And if you like this video, do not forget to leave your like and subscribe to our channel if you are not already subscribed. Thanks for watching until the next video.